Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend and you're ready for the upcoming week. As always, this is the best time for you to voice any questions, concerns, things going well, things going poorly. If you've got things going well, I'm sure everybody would love to hear about it. If things are challenging for you, I'm sure everybody would like to hear about that too, because then we can all work together, put our heads together, and see if we can't come up with some ideas for you. So now is a great time to do that. So please forward your questions to Missy if you've got those questions, and then after I get done with the pointer here, we will talk about those questions. So the pointer this week is something I found in Investment News, and it was talking about the new Sorelli Associates report cites research showing advisor-run exchange-traded funds and mutual fund wrap programs are underperforming benchmark significantly. So advisor as portfolio manager programs are the single biggest segment of the managed account sector, $660 billion worth. So, guys, why is this an important fact for you, or why does this bode well for you? Because, again, it's saying of all the managed money out there, most of it's being managed by advisors. And you'll see how bad they are. Advisors as portfolio manager are underperforming the benchmark significantly. So is that a good thing or a bad thing for you guys? What do you think, guys? Type those answers in there. Good thing, exactly, Eric. Good thing. So, how bad? Well, the research firm estimates that these advisor-run programs gave their clients just 47% of the benchmark return. And Morningstar, so that was Cerulli and Associates, but Morningstar found the exact same thing, that advisor-run managed accounts were significantly below this. Despite this is a quote from the Investment News article, brokerage firms are reluctant to say to their brokers that they shouldn't be acting as money managers. Why do you think the brokerage firms are not doing this? Why do you think the brokerage firms aren't telling their brokers they shouldn't be acting as money managers? Dollars. Yeah, John says dollars. You're exactly right. They make more money on those than if they are splitting it with actual managers. So, well, and they're looking out for the advisor. I agree with that too, Eric. So the fact is that assets under management, yep, brokers would rebel. It's all those things. You're right. So, again, are brokerages out to help the public, or is this yet another example of brokerages watching out for their own and their own interest, their own people's and their own interests instead of the public's? So, guys, this should be your another trumpet call for you to be out there seeing as many people as possible to protect them from these guys who don't know what the heck they're doing. And it's funny, one of the big wigs, he wouldn't even give, I don't think he even would give his name. He said, you know, you can tell advisors all day long how they're underperforming, but it's human nature to think we're different, that I'm that special snowflake. And Jeff Freeberg, how often do you and I hear calls from the advisors, from not all, but from a handful of advisors that say, well, geez, I've got this thing that makes 8% and hasn't lost money not in down markets and won't lose money in down markets. It's been back tested and it's really guaranteed. And again,
yeah,
some form of, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we hear that a lot.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's 12%, sometimes it's 8%, sometimes it's 10%, and whatever it is, it's guaranteed. It's never lost money in down markets. Guys, can I just tell you, I want you to just put your thinking cap on. If you had something like that, would you really be dealing with people with $100,000 to invest, or $300,000 to invest, or even $1 million to invest? If you had something that made 10, 12%, had never lost money in down markets, was guaranteed, who would you be working with, guys? Yeah, millionaires or even what? John says he's that special snowflake. That's good for you, John. So billionaires, exactly, billionaires. You'd have people lined up out the door. So it cracks me up when these advisors tell me that they've got this account that makes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% with no risk to principal, and it doesn't go down. If that was the case, you're a dumbass for working with people with 100,000. You should have people with billions of dollars lined up. And, in fact, that did happen one time here about 20 or 30 years ago. Does anybody remember that? Something that was guaranteed to make a ton of money, never went down, back tested 100 years in reverse. Who was that, guys? What company was that? was actually run by two Nobel, long-term capital management, very good, Michael. It was actually run by two Nobel Prize-winning economists. They backtested this thing for 100 years. Countries were investing with them. That's how big, I mean, if you think about it, two Nobel Prize-winning economists running something backtested for 100 years, you had countries, and they had foundations, and they weren't dealing with people with 100,000. They began with a $10 million minimum, and it went all the way up to, after there were so many people throwing money at them, it went up to a $100 million minimum. And after 3 years, Michael, what happened? Since he remembers long-term capital management, what happened? Well, Rick does too. Good. Crashed, exactly. That was the first time in world history that Germany, Japan, the United States, Britain all had to get together and bail out a private company, setting a precedent for what happened again in 2008 in the last 5 years, right? So anytime somebody says that they think they can beat the market, they are prime for you to take away all of their clients. Does that make sense? Any questions, comments on this before we move on? Wall Street's bailed them out. Yeah, exactly.
And Mike, would you be able to share with me the article name so I can post that link for everyone? I know it's Investment News 910.
Where am I looking here? I can't remember, but
okay.
You just Google Investment News, Cerulli Associates. If you just Google this, it's going to pop up.
Okay. I'll go look for it. Thanks.
Okay. Getting the appointment. 4 things you must do. Okay, first thing is what? Greet them appropriately. What's the best way to greet them? Oh, up there Pam says, study gives advisors bad rap, Missy. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the first thing you must do we want to talk about how do you get the most appointments at the event. There's 4 things you must do. The first thing is to greet them appropriately. Should you greet them like these 2 guys right here? What do these 2 guys look like? What do these 2 guys look like? They look like security to me. Yeah, security guards, bouncers. So this is not how you greet people at an event. Nor do you want to be that happy guy right at the front. Because are these people nervous when they come? Yeah, they're nervous when they come. Well, actually, it says farm equipment salesman. You're right. This actually wasn't an advisor event. It was actually for Department of Transportation. It was actually, so that's why it looks that way. But that's the only picture I could find that would work for this. So, but what does it feel like when people first come to the event? A few people are loose, but most people are a little bit what? A little bit nervous, a little bit of trepidation there, right? So, do you want to be standing right up front and say, "Hi, I'm Mike. How you doing today?" Do you want to do that? No, you do not want to do that. Is that right, Eric? Nope. So you're going to have your table set up with the name tags. And how big are the names on the name tags? First name is what? Big. Big. So then you're going to have your assistants there signing people in. But where are you going to be? You're not going to be at that front desk. What you're going to be doing is working the room and greeting them. And again, how should you greet them? I always recommend that you squat down, say, "Hi, how you doing today? Did you find the place okay?" Super. So, what'd you see in the invitation that made you want to come today? Oh, really? Okay, super. Well, we'll make sure we spend some time on that. I appreciate you coming. And again, feel free to make comments, questions as we go through the event today. I hope you have a good time, and thanks for coming. And then you move on. And also, you can go ahead and help them understand the dot exercise and the flipping the coin exercise, which they should be doing during this time period. So, what are we doing there? Well, we're greeting them. What do you think we're doing when we're greeting them like that? Creating trust, John. You're exactly right. We're creating trust. We're saying, "Hey, I'm not a bad guy. I'm a happy guy." We're creating friends so that when you actually start presenting, they already feel like they know you. And I tell you what, when you do that and you do it well, when you're looking at the crowd, you may be looking at one person, but the 3 or 4 people around them will all think you're looking at them as well. Why is it important for the people to think that you're talking to them directly during the whole event, which is actually our next step? Involvement, absolutely. Why else? Have you guys ever been in a crowd where you thought the guy was talking to you directly? not like his message, but actually that he was physically talking to you in the audience. Have you ever, anybody here experienced that? Because I've experienced that. You feel, yep, you feel connectivity, exactly. You work with people who you like and that connect with you, absolutely. So when I feel that people are talking to me, I'll give you an example of that. I arrived at a training, geez, this is like 20 years ago, and it was actually for 300 people, but I got there way early, and I was sitting to make sure I got a good seat, and I'm sitting in the audience, and the speaker just came early, and he started to talk to a few of the guys that came, and he was talking to me, or came over and talked to me, and he talked to me about 2 or 3 minutes, and then he moved on. But then during that whole event, I thought he was, he was looking at my part of the audience all the time. And again, there's 300 people out there, so he kept looking at me, right? Well, then I figured out he asked people to. He looked right directly at us and asked me to raise my hand. What happened? What happened when he asked me to raise my hand? I did, and everybody around me raised their hands. Why? Because we all thought he was talking to us. But see, that works because he's looking at me, but do I really know that he's looking at me directly? I know he was looking in my general direction, which means, but I thought he was talking to me, and that's a good thing. Because people will make appointments with people they like and that they feel like they have connectivity to and that they feel like that they're friends with. And so when you look at the way I present, am I doing that? No, I do not do that. I'm a pretty shy guy, so I don't connect well that way. So the way that I am able to even go out there without throwing up my guts before a presentation is I have to put on my presentation outfit. I have to put on my presentation demeanor. That's not who I really am, but that's the only way I can go out there. So I go out there as a showman, and I present to the whole group. That is not the best way to present. That is not the best way to present. I present to the group instead of to the individual. You're far better off presenting to the individual. And I'll give you example after example after example of this. And Missy, if you can chirp in here. How many times have we found that guys, when their projectors break, what happens, Missy, to their? Well, I'm going to ask you guys. When advisors' projectors break, what happens to their appointment ratios? Do you think, guys? When their projectors break, what happens? John says plummets. Says probably go up, and then I got up, one down. They go up a lot. Why do you think that people? In fact, it got to the point where I said, you know what? We need to just put this into the event is to have people's projectors break. The only problem with that is that if people come to 2 different events and your projector's always breaking, pretty soon it's going to be very clear that this is a mechanism that you're doing, not an accident. So why do you think? Oh, here we go. You have more face-to-face engagement. Exactly, Steve. That's exactly right. They see that you're like them. Exactly. You need to draw the audience into it. More personal communication. Exactly. It's all those things. More personal communication. You're forced, because you don't rely on the projector, you're forced to actually talk to the audience directly instead of present to the audience. You speak with the audience instead of speaking at the audience. So if I had my druthers, I do that. Now, the only reason we use PowerPoints is because it's an easy way for you to memorize the event. You could imagine trying to memorize an hour and a half long event if you didn't have the slides up there to prompt you. With the slides, you can memorize that event in a couple of days. If you didn't do that, it would be a really hard thing to do. So we do have that projector up there. We do have the PowerPoint up there. But, guys, remember, the PowerPoint is not the presentation. You are the presentation. They are the presentation. The 2 of you talking to each other is the presentation. Why do we have you make sure that the name tags have their first name large on there? Because how often should you be using their name? How often should you? Often, right, Eric? Often, as much as possible. What happens if they're not speaking with you? If you find somebody in the audience not speaking with you, what should you do? Call on them. Yeah, my biggest client ever was this guy who sat in the back with his arms crossed and didn't say anything. And finally, about 3/4 of the way through, I walked back to the audience and said, really? Really? So I've been watching you all day long, and you've not raised your hand once. And when I ask people to raise their hands if they want to lower taxes, you did not raise your hand that you wanted your taxes lowered. And of all the people in here, I think you wanted your taxes lowered the most. Am I out to lunch here? And I was just kind of poking at him. And then he finally burst out smiling and unfolded his arms, and he said, yeah, no, I wanted it. Actually, this was an event I did many, many years ago for another guy, and he actually became a client of that guy. He had $5 million. The guy didn't get all $5 million, but because he was a do-it-yourselfer, but he got a big chunk of that. And if I hadn't gone out there, what do you think the chance of that guy ever making an appointment? It wouldn't. But see, when you become a human being, think about this. What is the Stockholm Syndrome, guys? What's the Stockholm Syndrome? I'm sure you all know what that is. Someone's going to pop it up here. What's the Stockholm Syndrome? You identify with your captors. You sympathize with. That's right. So if you were kidnapped, it's a weird thing. If you're kidnapped and the kidnappers treat you decently, you all of a sudden start to like those kidnappers. Why is that? And also, have you ever heard that if you're ever being robbed, you want to get into a conversation with that person who's robbing you under gunpoint? Why? Because the more you can make yourself human, the more people are going to be likely to like you and not be able to shoot you. So it goes both ways, both for the captor and for the aggressor. But it's the same thing when we're in an audience. The more human we can become to the audience, or the more human the audience becomes to us, the more likely they are to make an appointment. It becomes very difficult not to make to say no to an appointment, especially if it's a reasonable request. Okay? Any questions on that? The next thing is get to the point, or get the point. Again, we've talked about this over and over and over, and that's why I filmed the video, and that's why we've actually put the points on all the slides to make sure the client gets the point, or the people in the audience get the point. What I mean by that is the last thing you want to do, for example, the example I always use is with the flipping the coins. And I've watched presentations, a video that were sent to me, and I'm watching them, and I asked the guy, you know, after you did the flipping the coins presentation, what do you think? If I pulled somebody out into the hallway and said, "What did you get out of that?" What would they say? And the guy said, "Well, you know that if you can actually flip a coin 15 times in a row, I mean that can happen. That's probability. That's randomness." And I said, "Really? So if that's what they got out of it, what's the likelihood they should make an appointment with you? If all they got out of it is that heads or tails can come up 15 times in a row, is that really going to make them want to make an appointment with you?" No. That's just an interesting fact. Sure, it's entertaining. Sure, it's interesting. Sure, on the evaluation, they're going to say, "Wow, that was a really good presentation." No. That's not what you want. You want them to say, "Oh, I get it. That can affect me personally." So remember we talked about, for those of you who've been on these extra coaching calls we did the last couple of weeks, we talked about right then and there would be an excellent place to do what? To say, you know what, so we start seeing human beings by nature start to see patterns where they do exist, and don't see patterns, or see patterns where they don't exist. So one of the things we do here is we say, you know, for example, folks, when we talk to our brokers, and if the market's gone down 30% in a row, 1 year, or going down 30% 1 year, and gone down 30% the next year, what's going to happen the next year? What would they tell you? If the market's gone down 30% and it goes down 30% again, what do they all tell you is going to happen the next year then? It's obviously, it's gone down 2 years in a row, so it's got to do what? Go up, 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 up. Yeah, I'll say that. And I say, but here's the other thing, folks. What if the market's gone up 30% 1 year and gone up 30% the next year? Then what do they tell you is going to happen the next year? Up, 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 up. Yeah, Eric Miller says the market will go up. Insert how this interesting fact can and will negatively affect. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So, and guys, how many of the audience do you think are going to answer that question? And then you can say, so why do you think? Now, here's the thing. Why, when the market goes down 30% and down 30%, do they say the market's going to go up? And when the market goes up 30% and up 30%, do they say the market's going to go up? And let the audience start what? You don't have to hammer their guy. Let them hammer their guy. Now, here's the advantage of that. Now that you've got that fact out there, which I think is, do you think that's pretty illustrative of the problem of human beings trying to, especially brokers, trying to manage probability and randomness? They always see what's happening. No matter what they're looking at, what do they see that those things that are happening are likely to make the market do? Yeah, they always see good things. No matter what they're seeing in the market, it's always a reason for the market to go up. Well, here's a good indicator. You've probably all seen these studies. How many sell recommendations are there, and any particular day as compared to buy recommendations by the smartest, supposedly the smartest guys in the industry, the guys that are making recommendations. How many sell recommendations are there as compared to buy recommendations at these big brokerages analysts? 1 to 10, exactly. 1 to 10, there's always 1 sell to 10 buy. 1 sell to 10 buy. Even before any of the crashes we've had. In fact, even during the crashes, guess what it remains? They always are telling you when to buy, and never that you should sell. In fact, remember Mad Money? Remember that Mad Money? What's the name of that guy? Kramer, his name? What was it? What did he do 2 days before a Bear Stearns crash? I think it was it Bear Stearns? What are they doing? What was he doing? He was explaining, yeah, buy, Bear Stearns, buy, hit the buy button. And he was saying anybody who thinks Bear Stearns is going to... And then what did he do, or conveniently forget to talk about until he was called on it every day there afterwards? They're always pushing buy. Why? And then, see, now through the rest of the event, you can be reflecting back on it. For example, when you talk about, remember the colors, where you asked them to call out the colors instead of the words? Well, what the point is there is what? That people, again, get kind of hardwired, and then we go into the fact of when brokers were born, when they came into the business, what they experienced, and then you can reflect back. Now, remember, folks, remember back when we said here a few minutes ago, when we said if the market goes down 30% and then goes down 30% again, what did they say that was going to happen? We'll go up. And when the market goes up and up, what did they say is going to happen? Well, it's going to go up. Remember we said that some people said that, why did they do that? Well, because they always want to make money, you know, they're just, yeah, but then we see they're hardwired for it. So if they're not smart enough to take themselves out of it, I mean, you can actually start tying that same point out through the rest of the event. Okay, you can start tying that to the rest of the event. And then we talked about last week how Steve Zumas, who had added the two or three little commercials to the event, really did a great job of increasing his appointment ratios. So if you haven't seen that, go back to last week's and take a look at how we did that. But those two things are making sure they get the point, and then adding the commercials. And again, thanks, Steve, for bringing that to our attention. Should really boost your appointment getting potential. So then the last thing is make sure you get to the Yale close. And when you get to the Yale close, should that be the weakest part of your event or the strongest part? Because I'll tell you, over and over and over, I'll hear guys say, "Well, geez, I was exhausted by that point. That's why my Yale close was lousy." Or they'll say, "I was in a hurry because I ran out of time, and so I hurried through it." Guys, what is the most important 5 or 10 minutes of your event? It's got to be the strongest, Eric Casey. Exactly. It's got to be the strongest. It can't be the weakest. It can't be the rushed part. It can't be the place where you're exhausted. So one of the things you need to make sure is practice the event enough to know where you're supposed to be at a half an hour, where you're supposed to be at an hour. So if you have to cut something else. Don't cut the Yale close. You should be rolling into that as strong as you can possibly be rolling into that. Okay? Make sure you do it. And then I've had people say, "Well, Mike, the thing is that I wonder why we're writing that stuff. During the Yale close, why am I writing that stuff on the paper? It's kind of clumsy, or I don't know how to write that way." Or whatever. Guys, why do we write that down during the Yale close? Why are we writing down all their answers? Buy in, Eric says. Yep. Anybody else have comments? Why are we having them write it down? Make it applicable to them, affirmation, all those things, exactly. So what we're doing is when we're writing down, we're not saying those things. If we're writing it down, are we saying them, or are we simply writing down what they're saying? So they're buying into it, as these guys have been saying. They are now have given you the reasons why they should be making appointments. You didn't tell them why they should be making appointments. They're telling you why they should make appointments. And if they just verbalize them, how quickly will they forget those reasons? Immediately. So you got to write them down so they're staring them at the face as you're going through the rest of the Yale close. Okay? Can we suggest to them to get started? No, 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 no. Should we be telling them what they should be saying at these places, guys? No, they have to say it. And remember, the whole purpose of this event was to get what? Crowd what? Participation. So how verbal should they be at this point? Oh, and let me give you kind of a pointer on that. To get and I've seen some mistakes made this way too, guys. If people in the audience are shouting out shouting out constructive things that maybe make people laugh and they're moving the conversation forward, how should you treat those people? So when you're asking questions throughout the event, and golden, exactly, treat them golden. And what you want to do when somebody shouts out something to move the thing forward is laugh, come over, pat them on the shoulder. Make sure you give them you don't even have to, patting them on the shoulder is actually better than giving them a coin, but pat them on the shoulder and give them a coin. Give them a lot of positive reinforcement. Why are you giving them positive reinforcement when they're saying things you like, especially at the beginning? Why are you doing that? Is it for them? Is it for them, guys? Why are you giving that person? It's for the group. It warms up the crowd. It's saying, hey, so others will jump in, Eric. Exactly right. So that when you do that, it says, hey, this guy actually wants us to say something. But I've seen advisors do this. Somebody will shout out something, and they'll either ignore the comment and move on with their point, or they'll just give it a yeah, and then that's it, yeah, and move forward. No, make sure, yeah, that's right. When they walk back to their pastor, that's exactly right, Mary. That's exactly right to do it. Here's a gold coin. That says, hey, this guy's going to pat us on the back for shouting these things out. And when other people see that, you're going to get a lot more people joining in. And the importance of that is when you get to the EO close, you don't have to suggest things. They're going to be shouting things out by that point. But if you instead don't have them involved and you get to the EO close, yeah, then you're going to be in a world of hurt. But guys, this whole presentation, how hard should it be to get people involved with this presentation? The whole presentation is all about what? Group learning. And the best way for groups to learn is groups to participate, not for you up to be yakking for the whole hour and a half. Okay? So what do we got? I made the mistake of not nailing EO close for seminar. Writing it down is critical to get the crowd participation and buy-in. They have to want to do this. You can't tell them. Exactly right, Eric. Exactly. Okay, so any questions on the EO close before we go forward? And why you need to write this stuff down. So practice that. Oh, can I also make another point about writing it down? The one comment I always used to get when I was presenting to people, especially when it was one-on-one, is they never told me, man, Mike, you're really smart. Wow, you got a great handle on this stuff. They never said that stuff. What they always said was, wow, you can write upside down. And you know what? I taught that to guys for years and years and years. I haven't really lately. But I just think it's so important. Why is it so important for me to be able to write upside down when I'm talking to the client? And it's not going to be the answer most of you give me. Why is it so important to write upside down when I'm talking to the client? Why do you think, guys? Is it so they can read it? Ah, Michael says it fascinates them. Yeah, that's one thing. What do you mean by fascinates them? What does it prove to them, guys? See, if I'm going in for surgery and the surgeon, I'm experienced there, exactly right. If the surgeon comes in and he bobbles the scalpel, and then he's fiddling with the machine, and the nurse says, well, that's the wrong machine. I mean, how confident am I in that surgeon? I'm not. But if he comes in and he does a little twirly thing with the through his fingers with the scalpel, and he just tweaks the machine. I mean, it shows what? Shows that I'm an expert. I have a grasp, a very, very good grasp on the skills I need to help people. So guess what that writing up there on the screen does? Yes, it does all those things. It gets them to buy in. It locks them in. You're just basically putting what they're saying up there so they can't back away from it. But it also says, wow, that writing on the screen, that's pretty darn cool. I know we take it for granted. But that is, to them, writing up on the screen like that is awesome. To you it might not be, but to most people in that audience, they're like, wow, that's really cool. He's writing down there and it's showing up on the screen. And it shows that you're an expert. Okay? So, now, after the Yale close, we do this. We say, and again, I want to make sure, we're clear here, so that nobody comes in with unrealistic expectations. Did we all agree that you should do these things, or that you should just be aware of these things and understand how these work? Do them or look into them. So what are we doing here, guys? What do you think I'm setting up here? So I'm setting our expectations. So giving the doors out, Eric, right? Low pressure. What I'm saying is, Because if I try to insinuate that when they come in they're going to have to do something or make a decision or move their money or anything like that, they're going to what? Bail out. So what I'm doing here is say, hey, and again, I just want to make sure you don't come in with, and I'm actually doing it in the form of an apology. I'm pretending like I think they're going to come in and want to do something, but I'm saying, hey, don't come in to think we're going to do something. We're just going to actually give you information. So what it does is it allows them to think, oh, good, all I'm coming in for information, which is all they want. They don't want to come in under pressure. So when they say, no, just look at them, say, exactly. So I don't want you thinking that you're going to come in and we're going to be making a bunch of changes or anything. We're just going to go through your information. You need to, the information, you need to decide whether these things even make sense for you or not. So are we clear? I don't want you coming in with unrealistic expectations that we're going to actually do any of these things or make any changes at the meeting. It's just to give you the information so you can go home and do what? And then again, make them say, just so we can go home and think about it. Exactly. So we're lowering that pressure. We're lowering that hurdle for them to come in to see us. So it's like you're not going to make it, not only, even if you wanted to make a decision, what are we saying? You can't. Even if you came in and you wanted to make decisions, you're not going to be able to. So we're lowering that pressure, okay? So I just want you to understand why we're doing that after the close, so that they don't think they're coming in for this appointment to actually make any changes. If they do that, you're going to have a lot of bailing out. Now, I'm going to go through the script of what you say when you actually are working the room. So when you go through and you're working the room, you want to say, hey, did you enjoy yourself? Great. What was your favorite part? Super. I had fun as well. And then say, what did you think? And then you're going to bring up, so what did you think? Were you closer to a 9 or 10 when it came to at least, checking out, maybe not doing, but checking out the Social Security ideas we talked about, or increasing your income with a sale, bump up that income and lower the risk. Again, not necessarily to do it, but at least to check it out. Were you closer to a 9 or 10, or were you closer to a 1 thinking it would be idiotic to even check these things out? So you want to talk about the 9 or 10 first here, and then the 1. If you switch those around, if I say, were you closer to a 1, or were you closer to a 9 or 10, they'll say, I was closer to a 9 or 10, but, we can't meet with you right now, but, blah, 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 but. We don't want to do this. If you do it this way, though, where you go a 9 or 10, were you closer to a 9 or 10, or were you closer to 1 thinking it would be idiotic to even check these things out? Again, what are they more likely to answer? Whether they're closer to a 9 or 10 or closer to being a 1? They're going to answer closer to being a 1, and what are they going to say? Well, no. I mean, no, I was much closer to a 9 or 10. I mean, to at least check these things out. See, when you do this second, it makes them say, no, I'm not a 1, I'm closer to a 9 or 10. If you do the 9 or 10 second, they're likely to say 9 or 10, but. Does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody think I'm speaking Greek there? Neil says, are you asking each couple? Yeah, you're working the room and asking each couple this. So you're working the room. This is what you're saying when you walk up to the other couple. And guys, which couple do you walk up to first? See if you got to answer that. Which couple do you start work the room from right to left or left to right, or which couple do you go up to first? The warmest couple, Eric. Exactly right. The most attentive. The one that you're most likely to make an appointment with. That's who you go up to first. The most responsive. Right, Jay? So this is how you walk up to them. This is what you say. And then when they say, well, no, I mean, I think I wasn't a 1. I think, we'd be closer to 9 or 10. Then you immediately take that as a what? Yes. So you say, exactly. I mean, at least checking it out. It's only the sensible thing to do, right? I mean, not checking out would be foolish, wouldn't it? Super. So when would be the best for you to for us to get together for an hour? So would it be tomorrow or Wednesday? So what we do there is, as soon as they say, when we say, are you closer to 9 or 10, or were you 1 thinking this would be idiotic to even check these things out? As soon as they explain why they're not a 1, you say exactly, and then we lock them in and say, yeah, it would be foolish not to at least check these things out. Now what are they locked into? They're going to look foolish if they say no. So then you just go in for the assume close here. See, most of them does. Okay, guys, does the advisor or the assistant set the appointments? What do you think, guys? I got a question here. Does the advisor or the assistant? The advisor, Jay, exactly right. Why the advisor? Who's the hero here, the advisor or the assistant, guys? The advisor is. So, and who's going to be harder to say no to, the advisor or the assistant? The advisor. But, if somebody points out, but, yeah, have your assistant following, so maybe that's what you're asking, Nathan, who actually writes it down in the book, have your assistant following you, they'll write it down in the book, because you can't do all these, talk to all these people, and write down the book and do all this in your appointment book and all that. So you just have the advisor following you to clean things up and make sure it gets in the book and they get their letters and all that kind of thing. Does that make sense? that says, make sure your appointment takes place within 1 to 3 business days. Anything outside that time frame will likely cancel or will at least start to cancel exponentially. Okay? So any questions on how we do this when we're working in the room afterwards? Okay? And then when they say yes to the appointment, make sure when you hand them, you give them 2 things. You give them the appointment card, which they fill out, right? They fill out their own card. There's a lot of psychology in them filling out that card of when their appointment is. And then the second thing you're going to give them is this letter. And the letter has all of these things they're supposed to bring, right? But as you hand them the letter, you say, now, remember, folks, this is what if you bring it in, we'll be able to really help you out extensively. If you don't bring this in, then, though, it's not going to hurt anything. So don't worry about turning your house over and searching through the attic and all that, forgetting these things. But the more you bring in, the more we'll be able to help you out. But, again, if you're not able to find some of these things, it doesn't matter. Go ahead and come in, and we will still be able to get a lot of things, get you a lot of the information you need to make good decisions. So what am I doing there, guys? Making sure what? Well, Casey, this is answering your question. What if they can't get all this stuff together, guys? Do we want them to cancel? They can bring the docs, Jay. You're right. They can bring the docs. Do I need the docs there for the first meeting, guys? Am I doing any analysis on their situation at the first meeting? No. Do I need them there for the first meeting? No. All the first meeting is to do is to find out what? Are they going to work with me, or are they not going to work with me? That's the only thing that we're doing at that meeting. What if they don't bring any of their statements? Does that hurt me, guys? What if they don't bring any of their investment statements? Nope, I'm getting all the right answers. Excellent, guys. No, it doesn't hurt me. All I'm going to say is what? As I'm gathering data and going through the client data gathering sheet, I'm going to say, so I see that, folks, do you have IRAs? Well, yeah, we have IRAs. So, Jim, I mean, how much do you have in your IRA about, ballpark? Well, about $300,000. Super. And is that in stocks, bonds, mutual funds? What kind of things is that in? Well, we're in, I think it's called some type of annuity, variable annuity. It has like mutual funds. Okay, super. So about $300,000 variable annuity. Super. And does Jill have any, an IRA? Yeah, she has one. Well, what is she, about how much is in that? Well, she's got about $150,000. Okay, great. And what kind of things, Jill, do you have yours in? Is stock, bonds, mutual funds? Well, I think I'm mostly in like mutual funds, I think they call. Super. How much more information do I need at that point, guys? How much more information? None. Now, are they going to have to bring that stuff in before the next meeting? Yes. But when will we determine we're having a next meeting? At the end of the first meeting. And then we're going to say, well, you're going to have to come back in and bring this stuff in before the next meeting. We need at least a week to work on it. Now, obviously, we don't need a week to work on it. Why are we telling them we're going to need a week to work on it, guys? Why am I telling it? It's theatrical. It's right. That we're saying, hey, this takes a lot of work. This takes a lot of work. So I need you to bring that stuff in so I have a whole week to work on it. And obviously, those of you that have done proposals know it doesn't take more than about a half hour, 40 minutes to do those proposals. But we want them to assume it takes an hour. And it's about mutual respect. Hey, I'm helping you out here. You need to give me time to do that. You can't. What do we do when they don't drop the stuff off? When they're supposed to? We call them up and tell them what? We've got to what? Reschedule. Change the appointment, right, Eric? Because I need a week for this. What if they? And again, guys will say they'll allow the people not to drop it off, and then the people will drop it off a day before, and then they'll try to have the appointment the next day. No. What has that client just done to you? Abused you. Do you think that's going to change? No, it is not. It's going to continue to act that way towards you. This is about mutual respect. So make sure that they drop it off an hour beforehand, or you can send home a FedEx envelope and say they can put it in there. You'll make copies and give them the originals when they come back to see you. You can do that way as well. But they don't need to bring this stuff in. So you want to, if they bring it in, that would be great. So if they bring this stuff in, it's great. But make sure as you hand them this letter at the event, you don't mail it. You'll hand it to them at the event, and then you can mail it again. But handing it to them at the event is far more important than mailing this to them. And make sure they understand that they don't need that. If they bring this stuff in, it's great. But if they don't bring it in, it's totally okay. So, is there any questions on that, guys? Because if they get this without that explanation, what are they going to do? Freak out and cancel that appointment. We do not want them to do that. Do we call to confirm the appointment? Absolutely. Missy Neil is wondering where the postcard is that we give them on the website. That's under the. Hey Jeff, I'm going to have you mute yourself there, dude. So where's the postcard on the?
The postcards we actually print and mail to them because they're the full color ones.
Okay.
Neil, there would be a bunch in your original seminar kit in a box that you got from us. It's got the little illusion image on the postcard, and we can certainly send you more if you need them. But yeah, they would have come in a stack in your original seminar kit in a box.
So guys, if you're, I see, can you get more cards? Yeah, go ahead and send support. If you're doing events and you need to replenish your cards, send a note to support. Is that right, Missy, to order more, or how would they get more?
Yep, that's exactly what they need to do. Just send to support@5qgroup.com.
Excellent. Okay, and I think the last thing I want to cover was the fact that, and I think we already covered it, you need to make these appointments as soon as you can. If I'm doing an event on Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to make my appointments for Tuesday and Wednesday, and actually even maybe mornings of the Thursday and on Friday, and on the, so I want them that quickly afterwards. Because if you do not try to set the appointments right afterwards, you can you'll start to see an exponential drop off in your appointments held. And then the last thing I'm going to do is if you want to invest in keeping those appointments, again, I've only heard or talked to maybe 2 guys that have had problems with a bunch of cancellations of their appointments, and one of them was because they didn't, when I was looking at their video, they were not stressing the point of the event. So instead, they did a fantastic job of having a wonderful event where everybody had a good time, and they loved this guy. So when he asked for an appointment, they said, yeah, we'll make an appointment with you. We love you. And then they went home and thought, what? Wait, well, what the heck is this all about? I don't even know what this is about. So let's just cancel it. So you have to make the points throughout the event. Again, don't worry about making every single point I make in the slides, but I do show you that every slide has a point. But you don't have to make every single point. What I want you to stress is there is a point to this whole event, and the event, even though it's advertised as a fun event, and I think it is fun, make sure they're getting the point along with having fun. And the point is what? They're being harmed if they don't understand how randomness and probability affects them, and their advisor doesn't get randomness and effectiveness, so they better be meeting with you. Also, when they meet with you, they're going to figure out how to increase their Social Security, and they're going to figure out how to increase their income while lowering their risk. So you make sure they get that that's the reason they're meeting with you. So, let's see, I'm going to address the questions here in a second after I get done with. Now, if you want to seal the deal with these appointments so they show up, and you want to increase the love for you when they show up, when somebody moves into your neighborhood, what do you guys do? Not all of you, but probably what your spouse does. What do people do in America when somebody moves in next door? What's a welcome gift that we give them? What do we got here? Take some cookies, drop off cookies, take a pie. Exactly. So, a lot. Again, I've only heard 2 guys that have had problems with this, and I think they identified the problem with the one. I don't know about we never really figured out for the other one, but the one was he wasn't making a very good point at the event. But it never hurts to do this. Is if you hire a high school kid or hire a retired client, and you make a deal with one of the your bakeries in town to get a fruit pie, because they're cheap, and they're not going to melt when the people have them in the back of the cart, and you hire that high schooler or the retired person to deliver pies with a thank you note and their appointment time the very next day. So if you get 15 appointments, that high schooler is going to drop off 15 pies, and each pie is going to be the thank you for making thank you for coming to the event, thanks for making an appointment, here's the time when it is, blah 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 blah. So here's the great thing about that: it's either the kid or the retiree who's delivering that. So can they engage them in a conversation about what's going to happen, etc.? No. And when they drop off that pie, can the person return the pie? See, I've had other guys try other little gifts. First of all, other little gifts are kind of incongruent. Because when somebody moves into your neighborhood, do you drop off a couple of free movie tickets? How would the neighbor think of? What would the neighbor think about that? If you dropped off a couple of free movie tickets when they moved in next door, or dropped off whatever other gift you want to get, that'd be weird, wouldn't it? But when you drop off a pie, does the neighbor think, oh, that's weird? They dropped off a pie, or say, oh, well, that's really nice. They dropped off a... So a pie cannot be returned, first of all, and if they can't return it, that obligates them to come see you. And when they come to see you, guess how effusive they are with their love when they come to see you that first time. Oh, thanks for the pie. That was really nice. Is that a nice way to start out with that first meeting, guys? See, it's a nice gesture, but it's not so much that they think, well, that's weird, or he's trying to buy me off. Do they really think you're trying to buy them off with a pie? No. But anything else, they may feel that way, okay? So, Missy, do we have some questions? I saw some longer comments coming in.
Yeah, we actually do. There was a couple that came in about the appointment confirmation letter and where would they find that. That is available out on the website underneath presentations. It's the appointment confirmation letter, and like Mike said, there's both the handout version and then there's the mailed template. So just choose whichever one you're looking for, and again, that's under presentations out on the website. And another one came in, how does the evaluation form fit in if the appointments are set verbally, so they don't write down their preferred appointment time?
Well, they can, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't even bother having them put their preferred appointment time in there. That's something that other guys have liked to do. But guys, how many appointments do you think you're going to make if you do that and then call them back the next day versus making the appointments right there? You want to guess? Because I know exactly what that number is.
Another one was, how does the appointment process work if there's, say, 3 or 4 couples at the same table?
Same way. It's basically, you're just gonna, guys, I can't tell you exactly what they're going to say or what you're going to do, but the first person you do that to, the script to, is exactly as I laid out. They're highly likely to make an appointment, and when they make an appointment, what's likely to happen with the other 2 people at the table? So, folks, how about you, folks? Did you have a good time? I'm taking it you're not one of those foolish people that wouldn't at least look at it, are you? So, when would be a good time for you, folks? What are they going to say? Because they just saw these people make an appointment. These people said whoever didn't do it is foolish. I can just playfully, if I've had a lot of interaction, how much more playful can I be, guys? Am I given more or less rope when everything's been interactive? A lot more. That's the importance of making sure there's a lot of engagement going on here. So, Missy, where are all of these things?
Click underneath presentations right there.
Okay.
And there you go. You've got the appointment
confirmation letter,
mailed, and handout. And a question that also relates to that is, so are we giving them the appointment card or the handout letter? You're actually giving them both.
Yes.
They're 2 totally different purposes.
Yeah, so the appointment card they fill out. If there's actually psychology behind this, you'll find they find that 20% or more people will actually show up for an appointment if they actually filled out that appointment card themselves. Why? There's lots of reasons why. But if you do any research on persuasion, you're going to see that when people write that down, they're 20% more likely to show up. So all we're doing is edging everything in your favor. And there's also things on that card, the way the card's written, in stating that please be one of the 98% or whatever we have of people that show up for their appointments. There's also a lot of psychology going in there. Between that and them handwriting it on that card, actually bumps your show ratio by about 30%, according to many different studies that have been done on getting people to comply with appointments. And the letter is simply to let them know what they need to bring. But again, what do we tell them when we hand them a letter? They can, or do they have to bring all that stuff, or that's all optional? It's all optional. Do we put the address on the card beforehand? Our address or their address? We put our address on there, but should we put their address on it? If we do, that's going to be very what? How's that going to be perceived? Our address, right. Yeah, we put our address on there, Neil, absolutely.
And there was a comment, I asked an attendee at the beginning to remind me at the close to ask about getting a meeting with me.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. That's great. If you can work that in, that's fantastic. He was just saying, read that again, Missy, what he said, Neil also.
Michael just says, I ask an attendee at the beginning to remind me at the close to ask about getting a meeting with me.
Yeah, see if you can work that in. I think that's kind of ballsy, but you know what? Ballsy's good, because it doesn't sound bad. I wouldn't have the guts to do that, but if you have the guts to do that when you first meet them, fantastic. Anything else, Missy, that you saw in there?
No, I was kind of scrolling through, but nope, I think we've got them all.
Okay. So any other questions on how to on what we've talked about today, or getting appointments at the event, or how to make them keep other promotional materials to take home. No promotional materials to take home, except what's in the folder. And we keep that should you send promotional materials for them to take home? Guys, when you send promotional materials for them to take home, if you're lucky enough for them to read them, why are they reading those promotional materials? For reasons why they should show up, or reasons why they shouldn't show up? Why do you think, guys? Do you think any promotional material that you can put in there is likely to make them more likely to make them come, or more likely to make them not show up? Reasons not to. Yeah, everybody's getting this right. Reasons not to show up. Oh, I mean, okay. So now we say, let's put stuff in there about an article about laddering. So let's tell them what, guys? See, that's the whole. Guys, stop. Do you think an article is going to sell anybody? Oh, good, they read the article. That means they're going to do it. You know what? Let's just answer this question straight out. Because if you can't tell, it drives me frickin' up the wall. Is there any article that's written that's going to sell anybody on anything? No. And I'll tell you this straight out. If somebody's making $100,000 a year and somebody's making $500,000 a year, which one is using the articles? I'll guarantee you, and Jeff, am I out to lunch here or not? Which one, guys, do you think? The 100K is exactly right. So this whole crap about can I give them articles, can I convince them to do anything, I don't care if it's at the event, after the event, when you meet with them, stop doing that. How are people sold, guys? The guys that are making $1 million a year, are they using illustrations? Are they using hypotheticals? No, I guarantee you, those are the guys that are using yellow pads. Why? That's what I use. My actual presentation was two checklists on a Word document. That's all. Otherwise, everything I did was me drawing things out for them. When I made $1 million a year, that's how. Why? Why is that the case, guys? Why do all guys that make huge amounts of money sell belly to belly? Instead of with PowerPoints, hey, Mike, should I put a screen up in my office and run a PowerPoint so I can show them how things are? Is that how you should present to people? No. You need to get them face-to-face, and you need to communicate with them. That's how you sell. Are you telling the attendees that you will give them? Yeah. How do you use the book? Some people use the book that I wrote. Some people don't use the book that I wrote. How some people use it at the event is they talk about here's an excellent guide for seniors, or I'm sorry, not seniors, but for people who are retired, and how to manage their money. It's actually kind of a expose on the industry and how to avoid the problems that the industry throw at them. Actually, I give this as a gift. I think it's so important. I give this as a gift to anybody that shows up to their appointments. I actually give them this book. So that's how some people do it. They use it as a hook or as a reward for people that actually show up for the appointments. Some people actually give the books out at the event. I'm more of the mindset that they get the book when they show up for the appointment. That's how I would use it. Do we need a sign-in sheet? Yeah, absolutely. You need a sign-in sheet. Missy, where's all? I mean, that's all in the manual, right?
Yep, it sure is. And actually, yeah, the sign-up sheet is what you've already used to create your name tags from. So you should already have that in there. But yes, all of those instructions are a part of the pay-per-person manual.
These are good questions. Any other? Even the question was about the articles, so that was a good question. It's just a thorn in my paw, so sorry about that. Any other questions we have, guys? Looks like we covered them, Missy?
Yep, looks good.
Excellent. Well, good luck, guys. If you got questions, call Jeff, myself, Missy. We're more than happy to help you out. And I hope this was helpful to you. And again, I wish you great luck on all your activities the next week, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.